Imagine a starving girl, stealing food from a fancy restaurant. Then, a billionaire stands up and says, "I will pay." What happens next will shock you. Rainwater still dripped from the torn zinc roof of an abandoned kiosk, where Mary had slept the night before. Her stomach twisted like a rope, the hunger biting deeper than she could bear. 6 months ago, she had a home, laughter, and parents who loved her. But death came too early, stealing both of them in 1 week. Her uncle and his wife took her in, not out of love, but out of greed for her father's property. Within weeks, they threw her out like trash. Since then, the streets had been her bed, the dustbin her kitchen, and rejection her daily companion. That morning was different. The bins behind the market stalls were empty, nothing but plastic bags and broken bottles. The children who normally shared scraps with her had vanished, leaving her to fight hunger alone. She dragged her weak legs toward the main road, her eyes scanning for hope. "Maybe today someone will give me something," she whispered to herself, clutching her chest. The sun had risen, painting the busy African city with its golden heat. People rushed about in fine clothes. Cars honked. Life seemed full everywhere except in her world. She walked past roasted corn sellers, the smell making her mouth water, but no one gave her a single glance. Finally, her eyes caught sight of a large glass building ahead. Regal Bites Restaurant, the most famous modern place in town, the place where rich men sat to eat plates of jollof rice and chicken that cost more than she had seen in her entire life. She knew poor children like her were not welcome there, but hunger was louder than shame. She gathered courage and stepped inside. The smell of fried chicken and spicy stew nearly made her faint. Tables were filled with well-dressed people laughing, talking, eating. Waiters in neat uniforms moved about quickly. Mary walked to the first table, her voice shaking. "Please, sir, can you help me with just a little food?" she asked. The man didn't even look at her. He waved his hand like chasing away a fly. She tried the next table. "Madam, please, I haven't eaten in 2 days." The woman's face hardened. "Go outside. This is not a place for beggars." One by one, rejection slapped her face. Some turned away, some insulted her, others acted like she was invisible. Tears filled her eyes, but hunger pushed her forward. Then she saw it. A table near the corner. A plate of jollof rice with chicken legs shining in oil and steam rising sweetly sat untouched. The owner had stepped away to take a phone call. Her heart pounded. "No one wants to help me. Maybe I must help myself." Before she could think twice, she grabbed the plate and shoved a spoonful into her mouth. The taste nearly broke her. It was the first real food she had eaten in weeks. She stuffed another spoon in, then another, her hands trembling. Suddenly, the restaurant went silent. A man's voice thundered from behind. "What do you think you're doing?" The man whose food she had taken rushed forward, furious. The waiters gasped. Customers stared. Some shook their heads. Mary froze, the spoon halfway to her mouth. She wanted to run, but her legs refused to move. Her thin frame shook as the man's shadow loomed over her. But then another voice spoke. Calm, deep, commanding. "Leave her alone. I will pay." Everyone turned. At the far end of the restaurant, a tall man in an expensive suit sat quietly. His wristwatch sparkled under the light, and his presence carried power. He was Daniel Johnson, the billionaire businessman everyone in town respected. He rose slowly, eyes fixed on Mary. "Bring her to me." The angry man stepped back immediately, silenced by the billionaire's authority. The waiters hesitated, then gently guided Mary toward Daniel's table. Her hands shook, her heart racing. She thought, "Is this the moment my life ends, or the moment it begins?" But wait, envy is already brewing in the shadows. Someone close to the billionaire wants her gone forever. Daniel studied her closely. Her dress was torn, her face pale, her eyes sunken, yet filled with desperate courage. "Child," he said softly, "why are you stealing food when you could ask?" Mary's lips trembled, tears rolled down her cheeks. "I asked? I begged everyone here, but nobody listened. They told me to leave." Sir, I haven't eaten in 2 days. I had no choice. The restaurant was dead silent. Some customers looked away in shame. Others whispered. Daniel leaned back, his face unreadable. Then he smiled faintly and pushed the plate toward her. Eat, my child. Eat as much as you want. From today, you will never beg for food again. The crowd gasped. The same people who had rejected her now watched with wide eyes. A few shook their heads. Some clapped slowly, others whispered in envy. But Mary only stared at the plate in front of her, unable to believe what she was hearing. Could it be true? Was her story about to change? She picked up the spoon with trembling hands and began to eat. But deep in her heart, she knew this was only the beginning of something bigger, something that would shake her world forever. The clinking of glasses, the laughter of rich men, and the smell of roasted chicken, all of it disappeared into silence the moment Daniel spoke. Eat, my child. Eat as much as you want. From today, you will never beg for food again. Those words rolled through the restaurant like thunder. Everyone stared at Mary, the skinny orphan with dust on her feet and tears in her eyes. The same girl they had mocked, insulted, and rejected only minutes ago. Now she was seated at the table of the wealthiest man in town. Mary's hand shook as she lifted the spoon. She wanted to eat, but shame pressed heavily on her chest. She could feel the burning stares around her. Whispers rose. Why is he helping a street rat? One woman muttered. She's a thief. He should throw her out, not feed her. Another hissed. Maybe she bewitched him. Someone sneered. But Daniel ignored them all. His eyes stayed fixed on Mary, calm and strong, like a father watching over his child. Eat, he said again, this time more firmly. Mary obeyed. The first bite sent warmth down her body, almost making her cry. It wasn't just food. It was hope. It was dignity. It was a reminder that she was still human. As she ate, Daniel leaned back in his chair studying her. His mind drifted to his own childhood. People saw him as a billionaire now. But once he too had been a boy with no shoes, hawking oranges on the street while others mocked him. That was why he understood hunger. That was why he couldn't let this child walk away unseen. The waiter, nervous but obedient, came forward. Sir, should I prepare another plate for her? Daniel nodded. Bring the biggest meal you can serve and juice. The waiter hurried away. The restaurant buzzed with shock. Some customers shook their heads. Others looked down in shame. The man whose food Mary had stolen stood rooted in his spot, speechless. When the second plate arrived, steaming with fresh rice, grilled chicken, fried plantain, and salad, Daniel pushed it toward Mary. This is yours. Eat without fear. Mary looked at him, her lips trembling. Sir, why are you so kind to me? Nobody else even looked at me. They called me dirty, useless, a beggar. Daniel's voice was steady. Because you remind me of myself when I was your age. People only see your rags, but I see your strength. You fought to survive. That means you are not useless. You are a warrior. Tears rolled down Mary's cheeks as she whispered. Thank you? Thank you, sir. But not everyone at that table felt gratitude. At the far end of the room, a man in a sharp suit clenched his jaw. His name was Patrick, Daniel's personal assistant. He had served Daniel for 5 years, handling his businesses, his travels, his investments. Patrick believed he was the closest person to the billionaire. But today, Daniel's kindness to a dirty orphan made his heart boil with envy. How can he waste his time and money on this girl? Patrick thought. I worked for years to earn his trust, and now this street thief just walks in and takes the attention I deserve. No, I will not allow it. Patrick forced a smile as Daniel called him. Patrick, arrange for this girl to be cleaned up. Get her new clothes. From today she will eat at my table whenever she wishes. Patrick bowed. But inside fire burned. This child will not replace me. She will regret stepping into this place. Meanwhile, Mary finished the food slowly, savoring every bite as if it were the last meal on earth. The fullness in her stomach brought tears of relief. For the first time in 6 months, she wasn't hungry. When she was done, Daniel stood. The restaurant hushed again. He took off his jacket and gently draped it over Mary's shoulders. It was too big for her tiny frame, but it carried warmth she hadn't felt since her parents died. "This child is mine now," Daniel said firmly, his voice echoing across the hall. "From today, she is under my protection. If anyone touches her, they touch me." Gasps filled the air. Some clapped in admiration. Some whispered in disbelief. Others rolled their eyes in anger. But nobody dared challenge him. Daniel Johnson's word was law. He guided Mary out of the restaurant, his hand firm on her back. Cameras from onlookers clicked and murmurs followed them into the street. To the public, it was just another headline. "Billionaire saves orphan girl in restaurant drama." But to Mary it was the first step toward reclaiming her stolen life. Yet, as they stepped into the billionaire's black SUV, one thing lingered in the shadows. Patrick's eyes, cold and calculating, watching every move. For Mary, this was the beginning of hope. But betrayal is coming. Will the mansion become her home, or her prison? The black SUV rolled through the wide streets of the city, the tinted windows shielding Mary from the stares and whispers of passers-by. She pressed her face against the cool glass, her eyes wide with wonder. It was the first time she had ever sat inside a car, let alone one that smelled of leather and wealth. Daniel sat beside her, calm and silent. His presence filled the vehicle with an authority Mary had never felt before. To her, he wasn't just a billionaire. He was a protector. A man who had seen her when no one else cared. "Don't be afraid," Daniel said at last, his deep voice steady. "From today, your life will change. But you must remember, money and comfort don't erase pain. You will still face people who hate you for no reason. Are you ready for that?" Mary turned to him, her small voice trembling. "Sir, I have been hated since my uncle threw me out. I have slept on the street, eaten from the dustbin, and begged strangers who spat at me. Nothing they do can hurt me more than I've already felt." Daniel studied her, then nodded slowly. "This girl has fire. She has suffered, but she has not broken." The SUV turned into a long driveway lined with palm trees and flower beds. At the end stood a mansion so tall and shining, it looked like something from a dream. The golden gates opened automatically, revealing fountains, polished cars, and gardeners trimming flowers. Mary's mouth fell open. This is your house." Daniel smiled faintly. "It is a house, but today it becomes your home." As they stepped out, staff in neat uniforms rushed forward. Drivers, maids, guards all bowed their heads respectfully to Daniel. But when their eyes fell on Mary, whispers began. "Who is that girl? She looks like she came from the street. Why is Sir holding her hand?" Daniel ignored them. He led Mary inside. The mansion glowed with marble floors, chandeliers that sparkled like stars, and walls decorated with gold frames. To Mary, it was overwhelming. So much beauty that it almost hurt her eyes. But not all beauty welcomes. At the grand staircase, a tall woman in a fitted gown appeared. Her name was Angela, the mansion's head housekeeper. She had served Daniel for years, running the home with iron hands. Angela bowed to Daniel, but her eyes narrowed at Mary. "Sir, who is this guest?" she asked, her voice laced with disdain. Daniel's tone was sharp. "She is not a guest. From today, she is under my protection. Treat her with respect." Angela forced a smile, but her heart was boiling. To her, Mary was nothing but a dirty street child, staining the mansion's glory. Daniel called Patrick, who had arrived in another car. "Patrick, I want her cleaned, dressed, and given a room. She will eat what I eat. She will learn, study, and grow under my care." Patrick bowed, but his smile was poisoned. "Yes, sir." Inside, his mind screamed. "So the little thief will sleep in the mansion, wear fine clothes, eat the food I worked years to afford. No, I will not allow her to rise above me." Hours later, Mary stood before a mirror in a guest room. The maids had bathed her, combed her tangled hair, and dressed her in a simple but clean gown. For the first time in months, she saw herself not as a beggar, but as a girl again. Tears filled her eyes as she whispered, "Mama, Papa, if only you could see me now." Dinner was served in the great hall. The long table glistened with plates of soup, grilled fish, rice, beans, and roasted goat meat. Mary sat timidly beside Daniel while the staff stood around watching. Some shook their heads, others frowned openly. As Mary lifted her spoon, Angela leaned close to another maid and whispered loudly, "This house is for kings and queens, not street rats." The words stung. Mary's hand froze. She felt small again, as if the street had followed her into the mansion. Daniel noticed and turned sharply, his eyes swept the room. "Let me be clear," he said, his voice echoing like thunder. "This girl is now part of my family. If I hear a single insult again, that person will leave this house forever." The hall went silent. But silence does not erase hate. It only buries it deeper. Later that night, Mary sat on her new bed, staring at the soft pillows and clean sheets. She should have felt peace, but something disturbed her spirit. She remembered Angela's cold eyes. She remembered the whispers of the staff, and somewhere in the shadows, she felt Patrick's gaze, watching her like a hawk. She pulled Daniel's jacket closer around her shoulders, whispering to herself, "They can hate me. They can laugh, but I will not go back to the street. Never again." In the corridor outside her room, Patrick whispered to Angela, "You don't like her. I don't like her. Let's make sure she doesn't stay long." Angela's lips curved into a cruel smile. "Then let's show her this mansion is not for orphans." And just like that, while Mary thought she had found safety, a storm was already gathering in the house of gold. The morning sun streamed through the wide windows of Daniel's mansion, flooding the marble floor with golden light. Birds sang from the garden, but inside Mary woke with a heavy heart. Though she now slept on a soft bed and ate warm food, the whispers of the staff still pierced her like knives. She tiptoed into the dining hall where breakfast was laid. Bread, eggs, pap, fruits, and steaming tea. Daniel wasn't home yet. He had left early for a business meeting. The staff stood around, some pretending to be busy, but their eyes stayed fixed on her. Angela, the housekeeper, walked in wearing her fitted gown and her usual cold smile. She glanced at Mary from head to toe and sneered. "So, this is what it has come to, a street child sitting in the master's dining room." Mary lowered her eyes. "Sir Daniel told me to eat here." Angela's voice cut like a blade. "And do you think his kindness will last forever? He pities you today, but tomorrow when he grows tired, he will throw you out. You are nothing but a beggar. Don't forget that." The maids chuckled, whispering among themselves. Mary's throat tightened, but she forced herself not to cry. She remembered Daniel's words. "You are not useless. You are a warrior." She held on to them like armor. Still, Angela's words reached Patrick, who entered with a smug smile. He clapped his hands. "Angela, you are right. This girl is enjoying luxury she doesn't deserve. But maybe we should help her find her true place." Angela's eyes gleamed. "What do you have in mind?" Patrick lowered his voice, though loud enough for Mary to hear. "Sir Daniel trusts me. If we show him proof that she is still a thief, he will turn against her. Then the streets will call her back." Mary's chest tightened. Fear rushed through her, but she remained silent. That evening, when Daniel returned, Patrick was already waiting with the story. "Sir," Patrick said, pretending to be sad, "I don't want to worry you, but something happened today. The little girl you brought home, she stole from the kitchen." Daniel's brows furrowed. "What are you saying, Patrick?" Patrick sighed heavily, as if it hurt him to speak. "I caught her sneaking food into her room. Angela saw it too. Sir, we all know her kind. A thief on the street remains a thief, no matter how many fine clothes she wears." Angela stepped forward, her face full of fake pity. "It's true, sir. I saw her hide bread under her gown." Daniel turned sharply to Mary, who stood frozen at the corner. His deep eyes searched hers. "Is this true, child?" Mary's lips trembled. She shook her head quickly. No, sir. I didn't steal. I was eating here like you told me. I never hid food. They are lying. Patrick smirked inwardly. Angela folded her arms. The room was heavy with silence. Daniel stepped closer to Mary, his eyes never blinking. Look at me. Did you steal? Tears rolled down her face as she whispered. No, sir. I may be poor, but I am not a liar. For a long moment, Daniel said nothing. Then he turned slowly to Patrick and Angela. Did either of you actually see her steal, or are you repeating gossip? Angela stuttered. I saw her moving suspiciously. That is not proof. Daniel cut in, his voice sharp. He turned to Patrick. And you, my assistant. For years you've worked with me. You should know better than to bring me half-truths. If you ever accuse someone in this house again, bring evidence. Patrick's jaw clenched, but he bowed. Yes, sir. Daniel knelt and wiped Mary's tears with his handkerchief. Listen to me, child. I do not care what they say. From now on, you will walk with your head high. You owe no one here an explanation but me, and I believe you. The staff looked away in shame, but deep down their hatred only grew stronger. Angela's eyes burned with quiet rage. Patrick's fists clenched by his side. He trusts her too much. If I don't act fast, she will take everything from me. That night, as Mary lay in her bed, the mansion felt colder than the street. At least outside, she knew who her enemies were. Here, they wore uniforms, smiled fake smiles, and stabbed with whispers. She hugged herself tightly, whispering into the silence. I will not let them win. They want me to run, but I will stay. One day, they will bow to me. One day, I will show them that I am not just a beggar girl. Outside her door, Patrick and Angela stood in the shadows, whispering. She is winning Daniel's heart, Angela hissed. Patrick's eyes narrowed. Then we must break her spirit before it's too late. Next time we will not accuse her with words. We will trap her with evidence. And so the mansion glittered that night with lights, but behind its golden walls, envy and betrayal had begun to weave their net. Mary, unaware of the storm being prepared against her, closed her eyes, clutching Daniel's jacket around her shoulders. She thought she had escaped rejection forever. But the real battle was just beginning. The mansion was buzzing with activity. Daniel was away on a 3-day business trip to Lagos, leaving Patrick in charge of everything. To the staff, that meant strict rules and harsh punishments. To Patrick, it meant an open stage to destroy Mary once and for all. Angela walked into Patrick's office, her heels clicking on the polished marble floor. She folded her arms, her face sharp. The girl is still here, eating from the master's table like a queen. If we don't act now, she will soon win his whole heart. Patrick leaned back in his chair, his eyes cold. Don't worry. By the time Daniel returns, Mary will be nothing but a thief in his eyes. I will make sure he throws her out himself. Angela smirked. How? Patrick leaned forward and lowered his voice. Tonight, we plant money in her room. Tomorrow, I will discover it during inspection. Everyone will see. Even Daniel cannot deny proof. Angela's eyes glittered with excitement. Good. Let the little rat taste the dirt again. That evening, while Mary sat in the library, struggling to read the small story book Daniel had given her, Angela sneaked into her room with quick steps. In her hand was a brown envelope stuffed with crisp notes, money that belonged to Daniel's company. She slid it carefully under Mary's pillow, her lips curling with satisfaction. When Mary returned to her room, tired but happy, she prayed quietly before lying on her bed. She hugged Daniel's jacket close, unaware that a trap was waiting beneath her head. The next morning, Patrick gathered all the staff in the main hall. His voice boomed with false authority. Sir Daniel left me in charge, and I must make sure this house remains free of thieves. Last night, money went missing from the office. Today, we will search every room. Angela gasped loudly, pretending to be shocked. Oh no, could it be one of the maids? Patrick's eyes glinted. We shall see. One by one, rooms were checked. The maids trembled. Guards stood tense and whispers filled the hall. Finally, they reached Mary's room. Patrick himself walked in, followed by Angela and 2 guards. Mary stood by the door, confused and nervous. Patrick went straight to the bed. With a dramatic sweep of his hand, he lifted the pillow and pulled out the envelope. Gasps echoed through the room. "There it is!" Patrick shouted triumphantly. He opened the envelope, letting the money spill onto the floor. "This is the missing cash found under her pillow." Angela clapped her hands to her mouth in fake shock. "Oh Lord, I knew it! A thief will always remain a thief." Mary's eyes widened, her voice breaking. "No, I don't know how that money got there. I swear I never touched it." But the staff had already begun whispering. "She's a liar. She came from the street. What did you expect? Sir Daniel made a mistake bringing her here." Mary dropped to her knees, tears streaming down her face. "Please believe me. I didn't do it. Someone is trying to frame me." Patrick folded his arms, his face smug. "Enough of your lies. You dishonored Sir Daniel's kindness. Guards, lock her in the small store until the master returns. He will decide her punishment." The guards hesitated. Some pitied the weeping girl, but Patrick's authority was heavy. They dragged Mary toward the storeroom. Her cries echoed through the mansion. "Please, please believe me. I didn't steal." For the first time since she entered the mansion, she felt the sting of betrayal stronger than hunger. "Why me, God?" she sobbed. "Why does the world hate me so much? I never stole. I never harmed anyone. Why do they want to destroy me?" But in her sorrow, she remembered Daniel's words. "You are not useless. You are a warrior." She clenched her fists, wiping her tears. "No," she whispered fiercely. "I will not break. They think they have won, but I will prove them wrong." Hours passed. Outside the mansion, a young driver named Samuel, who had always treated Mary with kindness, carried a tray of food to her. He whispered through the door, "Don't cry, Mary. I believe you. I saw Angela leaving your room last night. Something is not right." Mary's eyes widened. "You saw her?" Samuel nodded. "Yes, I didn't say anything because I feared losing my job, but I know you didn't steal. Be strong. When Sir Daniel returns, I will tell him the truth." Hope lit inside Mary's heart. The trap was strong, but maybe God had sent her a witness. Meanwhile, Patrick stood in the balcony with Angela, sipping wine. He watched the sun sink behind the city and smiled wickedly. "By the time Daniel returns, she will be nothing but dust under his feet, and I will be closer to his throne than ever." But Patrick didn't know that Daniel's return would come sooner than expected, bringing with it a twist that would shake the mansion like thunder. The mansion was unusually tense that evening. Staff whispered in corners, their eyes darting toward the locked store where Mary sat on the cold floor. Patrick walked around with pride in his steps, as though he already owned the place. Angela followed him like a shadow, her smile sharp and cruel. "By tomorrow," Patrick whispered, "Sir Daniel will send her back to the gutter where she belongs." Angela chuckled. "And when he does, everyone will know you were right all along." But fate had other plans. Just before midnight, headlights swept across the driveway. The sound of engines rumbled as Daniel's convoy returned earlier than expected. The mansion doors opened and he walked in tall, confident, his presence filling the hall with power. Patrick rushed forward, feigning surprise. "Sir, we didn't expect you tonight." Daniel's eyes scanned the hall. "Why is the staff gathered at this hour?" Angela stepped in quickly. "Sir, we regret to tell you there has been a theft." Daniel's face hardened. "A theft in my house?" Patrick bowed slightly, his voice laced with false sorrow. "Yes, sir. And the thief is the girl you brought in. We found money hidden under her pillow. It was clear evidence. To protect your name, I had her locked in the store until your return." Gasps rippled among the staff, though many had heard the same story earlier. Daniel's jaw tightened. He said nothing, only raised his hand. Bring her here. Moments later, the guards opened the store door. Mary stumbled out, weak from hunger and tears, her gown dusty from the floor. She clutched Daniel's jacket around her shoulders as though it were her last shield. When she saw him, her knees buckled. Sir, please, please believe me. I didn't steal. Her voice broke with desperation. Patrick quickly cut in, shaking his head. Don't be fooled by her tears, sir. The money was right there in her room. Angela saw it. I saw it. She betrayed your kindness. Angela folded her arms, nodding confidently. Yes, sir. We only wanted to protect the mansion. Daniel's eyes swept from Mary to Patrick, then to Angela. His voice was calm, but carried the weight of command. Did anyone else witness this? The hall went silent. No one spoke, but from the back, a timid voice rose. I saw something. Everyone turned. It was Samuel, the young driver. He stepped forward nervously, his hands shaking. I saw Madame Angela entering Mary's room last night with an envelope. I thought maybe she was putting something there for her. But this morning, suddenly, they said money was found. A heavy silence fell. Angela's face turned pale. Patrick's jaw clenched. Daniel's eyes narrowed. Angela, is this true? Angela stuttered. No, no, sir. The boy must be mistaken. He probably saw me passing by. But Daniel's gaze was sharp as lightning. Do not lie to me. His voice cracked like thunder. Mary wept quietly, but there was strength in her tears now. Sir, I swear on my parents' graves. I did not steal. I may be poor, but I still have dignity. I was framed. Daniel turned slowly to Patrick. And you? You claimed you saw it too? Patrick straightened his shoulders, forcing a smile. Sir, I only did my duty. The evidence was there. I only wanted to protect your name. Daniel's silence was dangerous. He studied Patrick for a long moment, then said, You speak of protecting my name, yet you rush to accuse a child with no proof. If Samuel had stayed silent, I might have believed you. But now I see the truth. You and Angela plotted this together. Gasps filled the hall. The staff looked at one another, some nodding in agreement, others covering their mouths. Angela fell to her knees, trembling. Sir, forgive me. I only followed Patrick's orders. Patrick's face darkened with fury. You liar! You were the one who suggested it. Their alliance crumbled in seconds, each throwing blame on the other. The staff murmured louder, disgust written on their faces. Daniel raised his hand, silencing the hall. His voice was calm, but heavy with power. Enough. From this moment, Angela, you are dismissed from my household. Patrick, you have betrayed my trust. You are no longer my assistant. Patrick's face twisted with rage. Sir, you cannot throw away 5 years of loyalty for a street rat. Daniel's eyes burned. She is more loyal than you ever were. You saw her as worthless, but I see her as a child of destiny. Leave my house before the guards drag you out. Patrick stood frozen, his pride shattering. Slowly he walked out, his fists clenched, his eyes burning with revenge. Angela followed behind, sobbing bitterly. Silence fell again. Daniel turned to Mary, who was still on her knees. He lifted her gently, his voice soft. Do you see now, child? Even in betrayal, truth always rises. Never forget this. You may be poor, but your honesty is richer than all the gold in this house. Mary's tears flowed freely, but they were tears of relief. For the first time, she felt safe again. The mansion that had been her prison was slowly becoming her refuge. Daniel looked at the rest of the staff. Let today be a warning. This child is under my protection. If anyone here dares to mock her again, you will follow Patrick and Angela out of these gates. The staff bowed their heads, murmuring agreement. Mary clutched Daniel's hand, her heart swelling with gratitude. But deep inside, she also felt something new, a spark of strength. She had faced lies, rejection, and betrayal. Yet she was still standing. But outside the gates, Patrick stood in the shadows, his teeth clenched. This is not over. She may have one today, but I will return. And when I do, I will make her regret ever stepping into this house. And so while Mary tasted victory for the first time, a darker storm was already forming on the horizon. The next morning, the mansion felt lighter. For the first time since Mary had entered, she walked through the marble hall without whispers clawing at her back. The staff bowed slightly when they saw her, not out of love, but out of fear of Daniel's words the night before. Mary noticed it all, but she didn't gloat. She carried her tray of pap and bread carefully to the table, her steps gentle, her eyes lowered. Inside, though, her heart was alive with something new. Dignity. Daniel entered the dining hall wearing a dark suit, ready for a meeting. He stopped when he saw Mary eating timidly. "Child, why do you sit alone? Come closer." She moved toward him, her voice soft. "Sir, I don't want to disturb you." Daniel smiled faintly. "You don't disturb me. You remind me why I must keep fighting in this world. Eat. After breakfast, I will send for a teacher. You will begin to learn how to read and write properly." Mary's eyes widened. "A teacher for me?" "Yes," Daniel said firmly. "You are not just a survivor anymore. You will grow. You will learn. And one day you will stand tall without needing my name to protect you." Tears stung Mary's eyes, but they were tears of joy. For the first time since her parents' death, she felt seen not as a burden, but as a seed ready to grow. That afternoon, Madame Rose, a patient and kind tutor, arrived at the mansion. She gave Mary her first real lesson in reading and writing. Mary stumbled over the letters, but every time she got one wrong, Rose smiled gently and said, "Try again." And Mary tried again and again, determined not to waste the chance Daniel had given her. Days turned into weeks. The mansion slowly changed for her. She helped the maids clean the garden, not because she had to, but because she wanted to stay humble. She thanked the guards each morning and offered to carry water for the cooks. Slowly, a few staff members began to respect her, not because of Daniel's protection, but because of her own kindness. But outside the golden gates, darkness brewed. Patrick sat in a small bar on the edge of town, his once polished suit now wrinkled. He had lost everything. His position, his wealth, his respect. And in his mind, one person was to blame. Mary. "She thinks she won," Patrick muttered, slamming his glass on the table. "She thinks she can take my place. I built my life beside Daniel for 5 years, and now a street girl sits where I should be." Across from him sat a man with sharp eyes and a scar running across his cheek. His name was Felix, a businessman with a reputation for shady deals. He leaned forward, smirking. "If you want her gone, I can help you, but it will cost." Patrick's eyes lit with bitterness. "Money is not the problem. I want her destroyed. I want Daniel to regret ever touching her." Felix grinned. "Then we plan a scandal so big even Daniel cannot save her." Meanwhile, Mary's days blossomed inside the mansion. She now read short sentences, learned how to write her name, and even began helping Madame Rose with small notes. Daniel often watched quietly from the doorway, pride in his eyes. One evening, as the sun dipped low and painted the sky red, Daniel sat with Mary in the garden. She wore a clean dress, her hair neatly braided by one of the kind maids. She looked nothing like the starving child who had once stolen food. "Mary," Daniel said softly, "you must promise me something. No matter what people say, never let their hatred turn you bitter. Use your pain as strength. That is how I built my empire." Mary nodded slowly. "I promise, sir. But will the world ever stop hating me?" Daniel's eyes grew distant. "The world will always have people who hate what they don't understand. But you must rise above them. That is the only way to win." His words sank deep into her heart. But just as hope was taking root in Mary's life, shadows gathered again. That night, Patrick moved in secret with Felix. They forged documents, bribed a guard who wanted more money, and prepared a lie so sharp it could cut through Daniel's trust like a knife. Felix's voice was smooth as he sealed the envelope. "By the time this reaches Daniel, Your little orphan will look like a traitor, not a daughter. He will drive her out himself. Patrick's lips curled into a cold smile. Good. Let her taste the street again. But this time, not even Daniel will save her. Back in her room, Mary knelt by her bed, praying softly. God, thank you for bringing me this far. But please don't let them take this away from me. Don't let me lose the only family I have left. The mansion was peaceful, but outside its walls, betrayal was already creeping closer, ready to strike when Mary least expected it. The city was alive with noise. Cars honking, vendors shouting, radios buzzing with music. But inside Daniel's mansion, peace reigned. Mary sat in the library, carefully tracing letters in her notebook. Each curve of her pen felt like a small victory. For someone once called useless, every word she learned carried power. Madame Rose smiled warmly. You learn quickly, Mary. Soon you'll be able to write full stories. Mary beamed, her heart swelling with pride. She thought of Daniel's words. You are not just a survivor. You are a seed ready to grow. But seeds don't grow without storms. And outside the gates, a storm was brewing. Patrick sat in Felix's office, his eyes burning with obsession. On the table lay forged documents and photographs. They showed false transactions, fake signatures, and twisted lies. Evidence designed to make Mary look like a thief plotting to steal Daniel's wealth. Felix leaned back in his chair, puffing on a cigar. When Daniel sees this, he'll believe the girl is using him, and when the media gets wind, his reputation will be dragged into the mud. He will have no choice but to throw her out. Patrick's lips curved into a cruel smile. Good. Once she's gone, I'll return. Daniel will realize I was the only one loyal to him. The plan began that night. The bribed guard, restless and greedy, sneaked into Daniel's office and placed the forged documents inside a drawer. At the same time, Felix sent an anonymous envelope to the city's biggest newspaper filled with photos showing Mary walking beside Daniel in the mansion gardens. The note read, Billionaire Daniel Johnson being deceived by orphan girl. Hidden scandal to be revealed. By dawn, the city buzzed with rumors. Newspapers carried bold headlines. Billionaire protects street girl. Secret plan to inherit fortune. Is Daniel Johnson being scammed by orphan girl? At the mansion gate, journalists gathered, shouting questions, flashing cameras. Mary woke to chaos. As she stepped out, staff members whispered harshly. I knew she was after his money. She fooled him with her tears. She'll bring disgrace to this house. Her heart pounded as Daniel returned from his morning meeting. His driver handed him a newspaper. The headline screamed back at him. For the first time since he had taken Mary in, Daniel's face hardened. He stormed into the mansion calling for Patrick, but Patrick was gone, hiding in Felix's den, waiting for the damage to explode. Daniel entered his office and found the planted documents. His jaw tightened as he flipped through them. Fake bank slips, fake signatures, all pointing to Mary. His chest burned. Could it be true? Had the girl he trusted betrayed him? He called her in. Mary entered timidly, her eyes wide at his anger. Mary, Daniel said, his voice heavy. Tell me the truth. Are you plotting to steal from me? Mary froze. What? No, sir. I would never. Daniel threw the papers on the desk. Then explain this. Your name, your handwriting, your signature. Mary's hands shook as she picked up the papers. Her eyes widened. It was her name, but she had never written it. Someone had copied her handwriting from her lessons. Her chest tightened with fear. Sir, I didn't do this. I swear someone is trying to frame me again. But Daniel's face was unreadable. The staff crowded the hall, whispering. Angela's old allies smirked, some saying, We told you. She's a thief at heart. Tears filled Mary's eyes. Please, sir, believe me. You said I was a warrior. You said I had dignity. I would never repay your kindness with evil. Daniel's silence was heavy. His heart warred inside him. His instinct told him Mary was innocent, but the documents screamed otherwise. At that moment, Samuel, The driver stepped forward bravely. Sir, forgive me for speaking, but I believe she's innocent. Remember last time they framed her with money? This is another trap. The hall grew quiet. Daniel's eyes flicked to Mary. Her tears were not of guilt, but of pain. Deep inside, he felt the same fire he had seen in her that first day at the restaurant. Finally, he slammed the papers on the table. Whoever planted these will regret it. Mary stays. Until I see true proof with my own eyes, I will not condemn her. The staff gasped. Some murmured in protest, but Daniel's voice was firm. Enough. Anyone who speaks against her speaks against me. Mary broke down in tears, falling to her knees. Thank you, sir. Thank you for trusting me. But far away, Patrick heard the news and slammed his fist on the table. He still defends her. Then it's war. If he won't see the truth, I will bring him down with her. And so, while Mary clung to Daniel's trust, the battle lines grew deeper. The scandal was only the beginning. The real storm was yet to come. The scandal spread through the city like wildfire. Newspapers, radio, and gossip in the markets all carried the same story. Orphan girl deceives billionaire. Even those who had once admired Daniel began to whisper. He is blinded by pity. She will ruin his empire. How can the richest man be fooled by a street child? Daniel held his head high, but inside he burned with anger. He knew Patrick's hand was behind it, yet the damage was real. His business partners called him nonstop, demanding answers. Some threatened to pull out of contracts. One night, as Daniel sat in his study, Mary knocked timidly and entered. She carried her notebook, her face pale. Sir, she whispered. I can leave. If my presence is causing you pain, maybe I should go. I don't want to destroy your name. Daniel looked up sharply, his voice firm. Mary, listen to me. You did not cause this. Evil men did, and evil only wins when good people run. You are not leaving. Do you hear me? Tears welled in her eyes. They nodded, clutching his words like a shield. But while Daniel comforted her, Patrick prepared his strike. In Felix's office, Patrick slammed his hand on the table. The newspapers were not enough. Daniel still protects her. We must hit him where it hurts. Felix's scarred face stretched into a cruel grin. Then we break his empire. I know his next business deal, an international contract worth billions. If we leak false evidence that his new daughter is linked to fraud, the partners will abandon him. He will lose everything and he will blame her. Patrick's eyes gleamed with satisfaction. Yes, when he falls, she will fall with him. The plan unfolded quickly. Documents were forged again, this time linking Mary's name to a secret account in Daniel's company. Emails were faked, trails planted. Within days, Daniel's international partners froze the deal. The news hit the city like thunder. Billionaire Daniel Johnson's empire shaken by scandal. The mansion turned into chaos. Calls poured in. Reporters camped outside. And even some loyal staff began to waver. It's the girl, they whispered. She brought bad luck. Mary felt the stares stabbing her wherever she walked. Some maids no longer served her food with respect. Guards avoided her eyes. Even Madame Rose grew worried, whispering, Child, this battle is bigger than you. Be careful. One evening, Daniel returned from a meeting looking tired, his shoulders heavy. Mary rushed to him. Sir, please tell me what's happening. Everyone blames me. Daniel sank into his chair, rubbing his forehead. They froze my contract, Mary. My enemies are using your name to destroy me. But listen to me. Don't you ever think you are the cause? They are just using you as a weapon against me. Mary's chest tightened. What if they succeed, sir? What if you lose everything because of me? Daniel looked at her, his eyes fierce. If I lose everything but keep my integrity, I will rise again. But if I abandon you, I lose my soul, and I will never do that. Mary's heart swelled, but fear still gnawed at her. That night, something darker happened. As she walked in the garden, taking in the cool air, a shadow moved behind her. Suddenly, a rough hand grabbed her arm. She gasped, trying to scream, but the man pressed a cloth over her mouth. Within seconds, everything went black. When Mary opened her eyes, she was on a chair in a dim warehouse. Her heart pounded in fear. Patrick stood before her, his face twisted with rage. "So," he sneered, "the little beggar finally looks weak. You thought you could take my place. You thought you could sit where I sat. Because of you, I lost everything." Mary's voice shook, but her spirit did not. "You lost because of your greed, not because of me." Patrick slapped the table, his eyes burning. "Silence. Tomorrow, Daniel will receive a message. Either he abandons you or he loses his entire empire. Let's see how much you are worth to him." Tears burned Mary's eyes, but she lifted her chin. "You can stress me, you can keep me here, but you cannot break me. I may be poor, but I am not powerless. One day you will regret this." Patrick laughed coldly. "We'll see." Back at the mansion, Daniel paced furiously when he discovered Mary was missing. His fists clenched as he barked at the guards. "Find her. Search everywhere. If anyone has touched her, they will pay dearly." His heart pounded, not just as a protector, but as a man who had come to love Mary as the daughter fate had given him. Meanwhile, in the warehouse, Mary whispered a prayer into the darkness. "God, give me strength. Let the truth be revealed. Let me survive this storm." The night stretched long, but the battle lines were clear now. Patrick wanted revenge. Felix wanted power. And Daniel was about to face the greatest fight of his life. Not for money, but for the girl who had stolen not food, but his heart. The night in the mansion was restless. Guards searched every corner of the city, but there was no sign of Mary. Daniel sat in his study, his eyes bloodshot, his fists clenched on the table. For years he had fought rivals in business. But this was different. This was personal. Just then, his phone buzzed. An unknown number flashed on the screen. He answered sharply. A voice smooth and mocking spoke. "Daniel Johnson, the mighty billionaire. I have something you want." Daniel's jaw tightened. "Patrick." Patrick chuckled coldly. "Yes, old friend. The little street girl you love so much is with me. But don't worry, she's safe for now. If you want her back, you must sign away your contract rights to Felix. Refuse and she disappears forever." Daniel's voice was like thunder. "If you touch her, I swear you'll regret the day you were born." Patrick laughed. "We'll see. You have until tomorrow night." The line went dead. Daniel's chest burned with fury. He summoned his security team. "Prepare the cars. Track that call. Tonight we end this." Meanwhile, in the cold warehouse, Mary sat on the chair. Her body ached, her lips dry, but her spirit burned brighter than ever. She replayed Daniel's words in her mind. "You are not useless. You are a warrior." When Patrick entered with Felix, she lifted her chin. "Do you think this will make you powerful? No. You are weak men hiding behind lies and threats." Patrick's face twisted with rage. "Silence. You ruined me. You made Daniel see me as nothing. But after tonight, he will lose everything because of you." Mary's eyes flashed. "Daniel will never bend to you. And even if he loses everything, he is still greater than you because he has honor. What do you have? Lies, greed, and nothing else." Her words stung like fire. Patrick raised his hand towards her, but at that moment, boom! The warehouse doors burst open. Daniel's guards stormed in, flashlights and the whole warehouse surrounded. "Hands up!" one shouted. Daniel stepped forward slowly, his voice calm, but filled with steel. "Patrick, look at yourself. You were once a man I trusted. Now you're nothing but a coward hiding behind a child." Patrick's hand trembled. "She took everything from me. You loved her more than me." Daniel's eyes locked on his. "She didn't take anything. You threw away everything with your own greed. Release her and maybe you will still live to rebuild your life." Mary's heart pounded. She whispered softly, "Sir Daniel, don't plead for me. Let him do what he wants. I am not afraid. Those words broke the tension. Patrick's eyes flickered with shock. The weak, trembling beggar girl he once despised now looked braver than him. In that moment of hesitation, Mary stomped hard on his foot and ducked. The guards rushed forward, disarming him. Patrick was dragged away, screaming, "No, she doesn't deserve this life. She doesn't deserve it." Felix was already handcuffed, his empire of lies collapsing. Daniel rushed to Mary, pulling her into his arms. "Are you hurt?" She shook her head, tears streaming down her face. "I'm fine, sir, but I didn't want you to risk your life for me." Daniel's voice was soft, trembling with emotion. "Mary, you are more than a child I saved. You are family. I would risk everything for you." The next morning, the city awoke to breaking news. Billionaire Daniel Johnson exposes corruption. Former assistant Patrick arrested. Orphan girl vindicated. Story of courage inspires millions. The truth spread like wildfire. Daniel stood before the press, Mary by his side. This child was once despised, rejected, and called worthless. But she stood strong. She is proof that no matter how poor or abandoned you are, dignity cannot be stolen. Today, I declare her not just my ward, but my daughter. Cameras flashed. The crowd erupted. Mary, dressed in a clean white gown, looked out at the sea of faces. For the first time in her life, people weren't mocking her. They were clapping for her. She took the microphone with trembling hands, her voice soft but firm. "I was once a beggar, sleeping on the street. People spat at me, insulted me, and left me to die. But one man believed in me when no one else did. Today, I say to every child suffering, don't give up. You are not useless. You are warriors, and one day the world will see your worth." Tears rolled down cheeks in the crowd. Daniel placed his hand on her shoulder proudly. Patrick and Felix faced trial. Their names ruined forever. Angela too was exposed for her part and vanished into shame. But Mary's life transformed. She went to school, studied hard, and later built an organization that fed and trained poor children so no child would ever have to steal food to survive. Her journey had begun with hunger, rejection, and betrayal. But it ended with power, dignity, and hope. Because the girl who once stole food in desperation had stolen something far greater in the end. Hearts, respect, and her destiny.